Yo, what's going on, guys? Radio Melee episode 3 coming at you, and what a star-studded cast we have with us today. Of course, this is the episode where we bring on our first guest, one of the most beautiful, handsome, and talented men in Melee, Zain, and of course, we are joined by our other phenomenal host, Toph. How's it going today, guys?
Super well. What an intro. Holy moly.
I'm
I
out
got
here.
all beautiful and oh my gosh. I feel ready. Yeah.
My dude. Yeah, this is a big week, dude. This is a good week too. It's an off week for the SEL, you know. There's like something going on this weekend or something. I remember I talked to Aiden, from Summit, and I was like, why is there a break this time? You're doing like a gap week. Is that just for the competitors? He's like, yeah, that too, but also he's like, there's some tournament that we didn't want to step on anybody's toes, so we're scheduling around this tournament. Is there a tournament this weekend that you know of, Zain or PP?
Not that I know of.
I heard that Brandon Homemade Waffles was hosting something, and he said he was primarily doing that because there was no tournament. So I don't know.
Big one. Is that this weekend?
That's what I mean. I think that's what he was talking about. I didn't get all the details, but that's kind of my understanding from scrolling through Twitter. So take that as you will. But yeah, Zain, how are you doing today? Welcome to Radio Melee. How does it feel to be on radio?
It feels great. I'm liking the vibe. I feel good. I took a day off yesterday after SEL just to relax. And I'm just chilling.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so I don't know, Toph, if you have something you want to lead in for Zain, but I guess while we're all trying to get our questions going for Zain, make sure that you're remembering that you out there watching, listening can submit your questions, !Radio Melee, go into the Discord, put them, where is that? They can put their questions. Submit topics here. Yeah, or anywhere. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, there's literally a text channel. Submit topics here.
Yeah. Make it as easy as possible.
I mean, you're going to hop in. You're going to see what everyone else is doing. It's going to be really obvious what you're supposed to do once you join the Discord. Just click on that Discord invite button. It's going to be easy breezy. You're going to be like, oh, everyone else is doing this thing. I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
And you'll be right.
Yeah. And just don't jump off the bridge. Anyway, what we have for you today, Zain, we're not going to hit you with the hardest questions, but we're going to hit you with some ones maybe you don't get asked all the time. We're going to see what you got, what you're thinking about some things we have, what you're thinking about what the community has. So I guess I'll hit you with kind of more of an obvious one, a bit of a warm up. Why do you think you had such a dominant performance Sunday?
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit in my interview, but the first week of SEL, I had to play HBox round 1, and I think that has this like layer of expectation to it that I shouldn't have overthought that much, where I was like, I have to win for the sake of like what practice means, because in my head I don't see HBox like practice that much Melee, and I'm playing every day, and I was like, this is like a principal battle. So that's why I was really zeroed in on the Puff matchup, and I feel like I neglected a lot of other I played Mango like once in the span of 2 weeks, but it was a lot of neglect on the Falcon matchup. Even like I think Leffen said that I was like looking weaker versus Spaces or something. And maybe in my head I was like, I'll be fine. I think even my B game versus Spaces is fine. But Mango played super hot that week. And then this week, as SEL week 2, they gave me an all Spaces bracket, which I was completely comfortable with. I was like, all right, I can just focus on this, what I'm good at, and polish everything there. And then it was a combination of that, and then Mango playing really, really badly.
Okay.
Do you feel like, because dude, I was thinking about this. I was doing SEL predictions one week, and I was like, man, Mango basically every week, especially with the format where you get to pick your opponent, Mango basically every week gets a bunch of Falcons. And I wonder if like I think he's really comfortable in that matchup. Like he just never has any problems against Falcon ever. So like I wonder if this week obviously you kind of got in there, but I do wonder how much for the purposes, especially with it being single elim and like you don't have losers bracket to kind of adapt and kind of make changes for grands or whatever. I do wonder like how much you feel like the characters you run into on the way to finals kind of affects your play.
Sure. Yeah. HBox in particular, it's a very draining matchup for me to play. Because even if it's a 3-0 or if it's a 3-1, game 5 is obviously the worst case scenario. It's going to take a lot out of me to play versus him. And then I remember this happened at SmashCon 2019, where it was the first time I took HBox at game 5. And I lost that set. And afterwards, I immediately played Army and Losers for 9th. And I just felt completely like, I was like, dude, I can't do this right after that. So I think he in particular is just really taxing on both mindset and stamina. And it's something that I have to get better at dealing with. I'm cognizant of it, which is good, but it takes some practice. But yeah, I think this week in particular, Mego and I both had matchups where respectively we could both like warm up really well for the finals. I don't know what happened to him though. Like it felt like he was like playing super hot versus Wizzy, then Johnny. I actually didn't watch the Johnny set, but I know it was a 3-0.
Right.
And then for me it was Moki and SFAT, and I thought we were just gonna have like a crazy set. But yeah, I don't know. Some kind of burnout happened for him.
Ran out of juice.
Ran out of. He always says that. Yeah,
run out of juice.
Sometimes you run out of juice. I don't know.
Do you have Marth Juice? Is that a thing? Because like, okay,
oh my god, that's amazing.
Thank you. How's it going?
Because people always talk about Fox Juice and all. You run out of Fox Juice sometimes, and you just can't move anymore. That's it. Your Fox Juice is done for the day. And then Prince Abu used to meme about Puff Juice. He's like, oh, you're only taking these friendlies because I ran out of Puff Juice. I'm like, shut up, Prince. So, do you have Marth Juice, or do you feel like you could go forever?
I think comparatively, I can go forever.
Nice.
So a nice thing about Marth is that when you feel lost or stuck, or you need a second to think about what's going wrong, you always revert to this basic game plan of just, all right, let me take my space, just dash dance and like assess the situation.
Right.
So I don't know if you feel that way, PP, but that's something that I've always like felt as a nice way to like kind of stop the momentum of your opponent, and like figure out what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I can get tired. I don't know, something like, so that saying you're out of juice, I don't know. I feel like that just means there's something intrinsically wrong with your preparation, which is like you have to fix that as a competitor. Does that make sense? Yeah.
That does make sense. PB, do you feel like there was a character difference when you switched from playing only Falco to like Falco Marth that you felt, or did you kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say they also just use juice kind of differently, right? Like they're different fuels, you know what I mean? But it's kind of like if you run out of one, you can run out of the other. They kind of both burn at the same rate. Like I just feel like, and I just kind of feel like Falco will burn a little hotter, a little quicker, but that doesn't mean like you got a big enough tank, you got enough gas in there, you're gonna go regardless. So I think it's more. I think I agree with Zain about the preparation. And I was thinking I thought, I'm not as used to playing Zain. Obviously, we haven't played yet. I'm more used to playing M2K. So when you said I need a minute to think, I remember back in the day when M2K would say, yeah, I sit on the ledge because I need to think. I was like, okay, right. We don't have to get into that, but probably what might be beneficial to get into are some viewer calls and questions. I know people want to talk, especially to Zain. If they have questions for all of us, we'll be glad to hear any of it. But we can go ahead and bring someone in now if that's okay.
Yeah, I should even add, honestly, if you guys, we already got a lot of questions in the Discord, and if you guys have questions for anyone in specific, if it's more for a question for whoever, you can totally specify that. You can totally be like, some people are even doing that. Oh, we got our first caller.
Hey, what's up?
Howdy.
What's up?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How's it going? Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from New Jersey.
What's your question for us today?
So I was talking to one of my friends about the differences between Ultimate and Melee. And at one point I said that Melee was a better competitive game. And my friend, who's not the smartest guy, Shout outs to Billy. He
Great
said
friendship.
that,
What a shout out.
yeah.
What a shout out.
Not the smartest
Shout out
guy.
to Billy.
He said something along the lines of like, "Yeah, Melee only has 5 good characters," kind of like not an insult, but like a negative to the game. And I didn't really know what to say back. So my question is it better for a fighting game to have a lot of characters like Ultimate with its 80 plus characters, or a more selective group of really strong characters like Melee?
I am
good
down
question.
to let. I'm down to let. That is a great question, and I'm going to try
I think
and
we're all
not
gonna have our
ball.
opinions on this.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to try and ball hog this one. There are more people here, so I'm down to let Zane take this away first. Make sure our guest has the chance to shine. What do you got? What do you got for us, Zane?
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that I prefer specialization. So for me, I align more towards melee because I like to see the matchups super fleshed out. I'd rather have like 5 or 6 really like super fleshed out matchups where people know the counterplays and stuff, rather than this isn't me trying to dunk, but like just like some random Pac-Man on the screen and the other guy doesn't know what he's doing, because I feel like that just happens all the time.
All the time. All the
And
time.
it's, I mean, how many characters are in Ultimate? It's like, is it over 60?
Over
I don't
70.
even know.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
over 70?
Jeez.
I think it's like 80 at this point.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't. And then with the newer Smash games, I feel like there's never even enough time for the game to breathe meta-wise. Where like I feel like Smash 4 had so much more. Like I wasn't a big fan of it, but I feel like it had a lot left to grow. But then the new one just comes out, and you're like, well, I guess we never got to see like what were the counterplays for this matchup or that matchup, and then it moves on to the next one. So with something like Melee, it's like we're seeing these like key matchups continually evolve over the course of like 20 years, and it's insane to me, and I much prefer that.
I was gonna say, I think it works in melee. So I played a couple fighting games, at like reasonable level. Like I was getting into Ramble versus, which was that's like an Arc System Works fighting game, kind of Street Fighter style. I was entering tournaments and stuff like that. Before I realized that rollback netcode. If your game doesn't have rollback netcode, it's not worth playing. And what I kind of realized is with melee, I think the reason it works in melee, the smaller cast, in particular, people talk about like the viable characters. So like let's even forget the bottom half of the tier list. Let's just say forget those guys. Okay. So let's say melee has, for all intents and purposes, 12 to 13 characters or something like that. I think the reason it works in melee is because there's a million ways to play every character. So the game stays fresh forever. I mean, I can watch, you can show me a VOD of like, I ran into Leffen one time when he was in SoCal. I ran into Leffen on Smash Ladder on his Smurf, and within 2 stocks, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is Leffen. I can identify a player almost immediately, especially if they're a good player. The better you get, the more you can branch on your playstyle. So I think the reason melee doesn't need that many characters is because there's so many different ways to play every character, and I don't think every game is like this. So I don't intrinsically think a smaller cast is better. I think if you took Ultimate and you narrowed it down to 12 characters, I think the game gets stale very fast, because I don't think there's as much depth to every character. I think in the general case, I think it's good to have more characters. But I think in the case of a game like Melee, the reason Melee works is because each character is so deep, and it feels like you never get tired of watching a character if you understand the game, because there's so many different ways to play every character. I think a healthy cast size for me in like a fighting game is like probably like the 20 to 30 range. I would say Melee could even have a few more characters, and I'd be like happy with it. But I think the reason Melee works is because, yeah, like I said, super deep characters.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that from Toph. That's kind of one of my responses to this question a lot is, I think the engine, the physics is what determines the interest for the game to me. But I think, if you're a spectator, that can be harder to enjoy. And I think, like Toph says, I mean, sometimes it can even be harder to appreciate the differences, because it can be harder to notice these things. And it can, in some players, it takes a whole lot of skill and a whole lot of hours and a whole lot of time to bring all of that personality, all of that character out. So, I think like the game, the mechanics are what really are the main comparison for me. But I'll also say, to the actual point, just to kind of hopefully tie things up a little bit. You can also just say if you want to just try and not say one is more better than the other, you can say I prefer learning more different archetypes of knowledge, like because I know there are a lot of copies of characters in the newer Smash, and I know that some people will some people will say, well, this character is like this character, so this means I can kind of copy some matchup knowledge over. So I think some people kind of like organizing knowledge in that way. They like maybe learning more about these total numbers of things rather than narrowing in focus on one character and learning all of the nuances that way. I think that might just be a preference.
Mhm.
And of course there'll be preferences based on game engine and things like that. But again, for me, I have found that, I mean, also depending on your definition of viable, you can still leave half the casted. There are a certain number of characters that, we said would never make top 8 and are making top 8 or top 5 or hitting top 5s in tournaments and have done that.
Right.
Pikachu won a tournament not so long ago. I mean, so things are still
Big tournament.
happening. Yes, absolutely. And so I think and it's very interesting. A lot of times in a lot of top 8s, and I always don't think about this, but so many times, I see people on Reddit or in other places saying, "Man, we have a lot of character diversity in the top 8, or almost everyone plays a different character, and maybe there's some secondaries that cross over." And so,
Mhm.
it's almost like, even it's almost like if you're that interested in top 8 character diversity, or if that's one of the metrics you want to use to judge the games by, then they wouldn't actually be that different. But of course, it depends. But
Right.
because there were a lot of Falcons in D1 the first week of Summit, so you would say, okay, well, Falcons take it over Melee, or whatever, depending on your spectator point of view. But yeah, I guess I guess I'll just say, I think like the difference in terms of like a function might not matter that much, but I would also just say the game engine is what really makes it count. Just to echo Toph's point.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that
Yeah,
make
good
sense?
question.
Yeah, like the amount of depth really let so
I agree with that. I
Yeah,
couldn't really hear what you're saying because
yeah,
cutting you out, and
yeah.
you sound like the Mr. Destructoid.
yeah, that's like that's
But
that's like
the
from
tone of
the
your
first
voice.
stock.
Okay, we can hear you now. Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, the first
that's like
stop.
from the first stock episode 1, right? It's where it's like you can you can watch a Marth and see who's playing the Marth, not just it's just
Oh,
some
yeah,
Marth
yeah, yeah,
player.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I do love a good Doc reference.
me too.
But yeah, thank you for calling in. We do appreciate that, and we're gonna keep it moving if that's okay with you. All right.
I think we just about have our next guest.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello,
What's up?
hello.
Hello, hello.
How's it going? What's your name and where are you calling in from?
My name is Stllr, and I'm from Canada.
Shout outs to Canada. What's your question for
Oh,
us
what's
today,
up,
Stllr?
Stllr?
Oh,
Good to have
hey.
you on.
Good to see you. I'm glad you recognize me because you followed me years ago, and every couple months I check to see if you're still following me, and I kind of don't understand the interaction, but I appreciate it anyway.
Good job, Toph. Good
problem.
job, Toph.
Consistently good tweets.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you. So my question today is a bit of a, it's a bit of a curveball, I guess, but
Okay.
assuming you lose a tough set, right? Assuming that you've just had a really tough loss, there
Mhm.
are a lot of things that people can say to you that will kind of make the loss hurt more when they're trying to help. So
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering
Yeah.
what's a good, like, what are some meaningful ways to provide like consolation and encouragement to a buddy after a tough loss?
It's a great question.
That's a good question.
It's so funny. I think people spend so much time saying, don't talk to me, just leave me alone, or the things you say aren't helpful. I don't think we often consider what we could do instead. So this is a very productive
What
question.
can we say?
I
That's
I love this
right.
question. Yeah.
I love this question.
Um,
Sometimes I just want to give people a big hug. I don't know
Yeah.
if they'd appreciate it. I mean, okay, here's the thing. I will say this. I'll start by saying this. I think 5 minutes after a tough loss is a big difference from even
yeah.
15 minutes after a tough loss, which in turn is a big difference to 3 hours or 2 hours after. You know what I mean? And then the day after and so on and so forth. So
Or also the 15 seconds after.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Um,
What do you guys think?
yeah, I'm trying to think. I think some people and this is tough because the way I might process some of this is different than a lot of people, because I know some people are fueled in different ways. So I think some people after losses primarily want to hear, man, that person wasn't even that good. Man, they suck. You'll beat them next time. And I think that's what some people want to hear, but it's not really what I want to encourage. So I'm a bit torn,
Mhm.
here. Now I know that Golden Guardian Zain never loses, but if he did, what would be something that would make him feel better after a tough loss?
I've had oh my gosh, 2019. I had so many game fives with HBox
Yeah.
where a lot of people said some good things, a lot of people said some bad things, but
Yeah,
I think
sure.
I think the clear differentiator is that it's a friend, right? Because I've had a lot of, I think this was my first like really bad experience was after my Armada set at Evo.
Mm.
Um, I got off the stage and the first thing that someone asked me was to sign something, and I don't have it in me to say no, so I was just like, yeah. I was like,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
So that, but if it's a friend, so the way I work is it's so random how I feel. Like I think the best I've felt is this was at SmashCon 2019 after I lost to HBox Game 5. I kind of found I always do this where I find my little corner in the venue and I just sit and I just contemplate. And my friend from college, his name is David. Uh, Somehow he just knew exactly where to find me, and he didn't even like say anything about the set. He didn't acknowledge it. He just said, "Do you want to get some Korean barbecue?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I really do." And I think stuff like that can help. Not to, I feel like I need to watch my sets personally by myself um, right after the loss because that's important to me to just rip off the band-aid, take away the emotional weight of it, and that's something I need to do on my own. I don't really want to like bring that on other people, so I'd rather do other things after the loss. Um, it's funny. My girlfriend Caitlin is like really careful after I lose, and she's at a tournament, and it's like really random how I'll react. Like she'll come up and just like, "Do you want me here?" And I'll at Big House, I was like, "Yeah," after I lost the mango. But sometimes I'm just like, I just need to be alone. It really, I'm pretty fickle when it comes to stuff like that.
we
But
all are.
yeah, I'd say that the best thing for me is just doing something outside of melee. Yeah.
yeah, and I love that there was a question asked. There wasn't a, I definitely know what to do here.
Yeah,
And I
it
mean
was like,
sometimes
let's
people
go.
want that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes people want that, but sometimes I yeah, I think, letting the person who is having the difficulty kind of dictate what's going on here. And I think it's an important thing to you brought up again, Zane, while you were talking about it. You said, okay, well, a friend or someone close to me is supporting me. Very different. And Toph echoed this too. It's very different than when a fan will do that because there's a different meaning to some things. Even very well meaning things can just feel very different. So for a friend, I mean, I think some people are of the camp that like Zane's in, where they're like, "Oh, well, I don't want to do anything related to melee. Let's just talk about something. Let's go do something." And I think that's great. I think something that kind of helps me and people have been kind of supportive with me about is they're just asking questions and they're like, "Well, how do you feel about how that was? Do you think do you feel like you're able to beat this person?" You usually be like, "Yeah," and then like that kind of like leads into something, and like as long as like as long as you're willing to be supportive and you're kind of asking questions and kind of following how the person's responding, you're probably going to be all right. So I'm struggling to try and give you something that can work for a lot of people and not just like giving you stock phrases because depending on the person or whatever, it might not be the right thing, or they might be particularly sensitive to just a particular phrase you use just because, and you wouldn't know. So I only say I say starting with questions is usually a pretty good route to go. If there's someone that would rather that you be a little more take charge about it, and some people are when they're struggling, just depends. Then you can say, hey, I think you're going to be all right. I think you had a fair shot, or maybe if they don't want to hear that, you can say, like you could have played better or whatever. You can tell them. Sometimes people want something a little tougher like that. Just depends. And then you say, but I think you're going to be okay. I think you can bounce back from this. Let's go get Korean barbecue. Whatever. It just depends on the person. So it's hard for me to give you a specific, but I think like if you take the general idea and really you really hold that in your heart when you talk to them, I think that comes through. Maybe not always in the moment, but I think when people think back, it does. I don't know how you guys or Stllr feel about that.
I mean, most of the answers that I've kind of gotten when I've asked this question to people is just kind of a wishy-washy, it depends, and like that's the level of depth that they reach. But even though you've given an answer that I think to you feels similar in sentiment, the amount of depth that you've gone into, like all three of you, has been really, really insightful, and I appreciate that a lot.
Dope, dope. And so, do you have any further questions about it, or do you feel satisfied?
I do have a small follow-up.
Okay.
In the age of Slippy, people, they're streaming their tournament matches and like they're probably not talking, but they're almost certainly reading chat at some point. And like obviously this is a completely different landscape because you don't know the top player personally if you're in their Twitch chat more often than not. And so like is there a good ground to stand on there? Should you just kind of like post a heart? Should you like gift a sub, or like what's too far? Because I know that the individual advice is a bit far in Twitch chat, but like how can you make that interaction like easy but still nice, if that makes sense?
Sure. Yeah. I think Twitch chat is funny because the overwhelming top player sentiment is that Twitch chat is garbage, right? Like it's like, oh, this opinion, like I think it's a very dangerous thing to say about Twitch chat actually, and I'm a culprit of it because there's just people behind a screen, and I think a lot of the times their sentiment is genuine and they have good intentions. And I've gotten a lot of good advice on Twitch chat, like in game and out of game.
Same here.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that instead of completely disregard, like, oh, everyone on Twitch chat, I just like cannot listen to them. Now, for me personally, I still don't stream when I compete in tournaments that I care about, or that I'm like really, really trying to win, just because I find my emotional support with my family. So like that's what I value. But in terms of I don't know. I'm not of the opinion that you should give subs. Because for me personally, that's like, oh, that's just pity.
Yeah, I could see that. I was watching.
Really into that.
They are.
I was watching a speedrunner and they were losing some runs, and they had really enjoyed the experience of watching it though, and they started gifting subs and donating, and the streamer was like, I know that you guys mean well, but I don't want you to do that right now. And so they were kind of of the same mind as Zain about it. And so
I'm gonna take this opportunity to interject, chat. I'm gonna start entering net play tournaments, and I want you guys to know you can give subs to me.
Please.
I would say if one of these guys loses, Zain loses, he's on stream or whatever.
Just give one to Toph if I lose. Yeah.
Zain probably isn't gonna feel good about that. You're probably gonna want to come to my chat gifting me instead. Just pretend you're gifting to Zain.
Yeah.
If I lose, you can give me subs. If I win, you can give me subs. You can give me subs right now. I really don't care. I need to pay my rent.
I need subs.
It's not even really about the emotions for me. So just kind of throwing that out there.
You can also use your Prime on Toph. Don't forget.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. So I think it's very interesting. If you and yes, please support Toph. Big agree. But to also return to the question for a moment, I would say, I would really say that look at what makes streamers happy on average. Do they like when you post hearts, or do people like, oh, the sappy nonsense? Like if they do, then they're probably not. If they don't like it, then they're not going to like it after they lose for sure. Someone like me will definitely appreciate hearts, but it just depends. So like I agree that the sub thing is odd, but the sentiment, because like I could even see myself thinking about it, like, oh, okay, so if I lose, I'm connecting getting money and like these alerts and these like sounds that I normally associate with like good things with losing, and so it's like weird in my head. So I could see why that's odd, and so that would be kind of strange to me too. So maybe I don't know if I would. I mean, but everyone is going to be different about it. That it's going to help some people, and then it's also kind of like Toph was talking about before. Like right away might be kind of weird. 5 minutes later, I might be like, well, at least I get, get the money though. Like it's different. So like it's going to be different at different times too. So I think there is a timing aspect, and it's going to be different for different people, and sometimes it's going to be hard to know. But I would also say, just kind of thinking about something different, a little bit differently. Sometimes, especially in larger chats, you're not going to see, the streamer might not see your individual message. And so it's possible to start some type of movement in chat, maybe, But different idea. If there's someone in chat that's doing something that you know is not helpful, you can say to that person, "Hey, maybe this isn't a good
Cut it
idea."
out.
Yeah, well, depending on the level of what they do, yeah, cut it out. Or it's like, I think this person would appreciate if we did something differently instead. And so, I mean, you guys are all part of chat. We're all trying to figure out this emotional experience together. Let's try to figure it out together. I know sometimes chat doesn't like chat. There are chat factions. I'm not really saying there's not, but I'm also saying, where if there is a true sentiment about that, there are different ways to go instead of just going straight to the streamer, which, again, is very valuable and important, but maybe there are other solutions. And that's just something that came to me while I was thinking about it.
I'm into that.
Yeah. There you go.
Stllr, any how do you feel about that?
That's honestly a very complete answer. I'm very happy with it.
Cool.
And yeah, thanks to Golden Guardians for having this podcast. I couldn't have picked two better people to host it myself, and very good first guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You got any shout outs, by the way, on the way out?
Shout outs to my buddy Tylenol with a 0 instead of an O. And shout outs to my buddy Emerald. Both of them high tier speedrun streamers. I'm a speedrunner guy deep down. This is partially speedrun advice as well.
And Tylenol is from North Carolina, so shout out to Tylenol.
Tylenol the Fox, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. Tylenol's popping off, man.
See you around. Thanks so much.
See ya.
Peace out.
The
All right,
Tylenol
looks like
drop.
Tylenol. Yeah, I followed Stllr for forever. I think I followed him for speedrunning back in the day.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. All right, we got our next caller. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Never met him.
Hello.
How's it going?
Where are you calling in from?
From Illinois.
Illinois. Shout out to Illinois.
Shout out.
Illinois. I think Chicago's in Illinois.
It is.
Well, hey,
what you
shout
got
out to Chicago. What's your question for us
What's got
today?
your
Gamer?
mind?
Today, my question is, how do you deal with not playing the way you want to? Like knowing what your potential is, but you're not performing either in practice or actual sets. And how do you keep your head and not get frustrated with not performing how you want while playing?
Is this, just to clarify so we can all answer this well, is this something, is this a level that you've played at before or a level you can play at, you just haven't yet?
Kind of both.
Okay.
You can tackle those individual if you want. I'm curious about this, man. I'm curious about this. I feel like when I was, focusing on getting better, I feel like I was wildly inconsistent. I'd get 17th in one tournament, and then I'd get 65th, whatever, and I'd kind of bounce back and forth between having really good results and really bad results, and I could really pinpoint why. I have a couple theories.
I feel like Zain over there is probably very confused because he's like, I just do what I want all the time.
That's not true.
All right. Well, what's up? So it sounds like you have experience with this, Zain.
Yeah. So I think I've dealt with this question in the similar vein before. I think it's important to realize that play where you feel like you're not playing that well, that is like I think I say this jokingly a lot where I'm like, that doesn't represent me, but in reality it does.
I knew you were gonna say that.
In reality it does.
Except on Fall Guys that one time. That one time in Fall Guys, it
Never in
actually
Fall Guys. Yeah, not in Fall Guys.
No hubris in Fall Guys for sure.
Yeah, but it is important to realize that your lowest point is what you need to raise, and you have to be able to be okay with playing that on tournament day and try to elevate that to as close as possible as being workable. Like, are you okay falling back on your B game or your C game? I've talked about this before, and if you have this peak potential that you're trying to attain, I think it's just about making that lower level of play emulate that high level of play as close as possible, and over time it just becomes that. Does that make sense?
I think I was really bad about this because when I was like, I would go to tournaments and I'd be like, okay, today's like a B game kind of day. And I would spend a lot of time practicing really hard technical stuff like ledge dashing or like multi-shining and stuff. And I would be like I felt like you just said the word emulate. I felt like for me, when I felt very inconsistent, I always felt like my B game didn't look anything like my A game. My B game, I would stop doing all the hard stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I fall back on now? And it was like there was this disconnect. So that's actually very enlightening. I'm glad you said that. I'm going to think about that.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna have to ask the question now.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's one a lot of players think about. Kind of to echo Zane's statement, a quote I really like is, "You don't rise to the level of your competition; you fall to the level of your training." And I
Mm.
think so many people think like, oh, and you can say like, oh, well, I was playing this person, so I wasn't as serious, or I'm only getting more motivated when I play people that are stronger. Sure, fine. But I think if that person starts challenging you, or if they break certain something in your play, I think that people really can not have so much to fall back on. So I do break it down to training a lot as well. But I also think that training is not always just game stuff. I think game stuff matters. I think a lot of people, I think Uncle Punch has helped with some aspects of training, but I think there are some other aspects, particularly neutral aspects, that can still kind of trip up people's game plans, and
Yeah.
that can kind of throw them off.
Accountability.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The thread. Show 'em the thread.
I know they're not ready for the thread, man.
They're not ready for the thread. They're not.
Um,
In due
and
time.
yeah, eventually. And so I also, but I guess like there is a separate thing here too, because I mean, not only can I kind of feel like the question that's still there, like, but what about that game that I want to play? And I think that's important. And I think like part of having a stronger B game is that your A game gets higher, so that you move down and the B game is still moving higher up with your A game. So
Mhm.
there is still an element to improvement there, and I think there are various facets that aspects of improvement that come into that. Taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, and when I'm talking about mind, I'm talking about the way you approach the game. Do you find it fun? Do you find aspects of improvement fun? Do you set good goals? Things like that, and you can get frustrated about things too. I'm not saying that I got frustrated plenty on my come up, and sometimes I still do. But at the end of the day, like if you're still having some fun, if you're still having goals and stuff for improvement, I think you want that to be stronger than any frustration you have. That's going to be really
Sure.
important. I'm trying to think if there's
You
anything else.
you just said something really good that I
Yeah.
just want to echo here and add an anecdote to. Lifestyle. So
Yeah.
I used to have a big problem where I'd fly to the East Coast and I'd play pretty bad because I'd have to play like 10 a.m. or whatever, East Coast pulls in at the time I was working. So,
Mm,
for my body clock, it'd be 7 a.m. West Coast time.
yeah.
I'm never playing Melee at 7 a.m. And what did I do? Well, I mostly just played bad. I mostly just played bad. But what did Amsa do, right? What did Amsa do when he had to travel across the world, to compete these tournaments in a way different time zone, combating jet lag and stuff like that. Amsa, if you guys remember, I think we mentioned this on stream before, but he had this whole thing where he would wake up every morning, 6:30 a.m. on the dot, and he would practice Melee for half an hour, and then he would brush his teeth and get his day started. He would roll out of bed and practice Melee tech skill for 30 minutes or whatever, like before even brushing his teeth. So he was like, okay, this is a problem and I need to like mitigate this. Okay, what can I do? Practically speaking, obviously I'm going to be tired sometimes at tournaments, but I'm just going to get good at practicing and getting warmed up as quickly as possible in a very tired state. So at the end of the day, it does. I think there are a lot of anecdotes from top players. I think where it is part of it is really preparation and also how bad do you want it. I think there's absolutely a lot of factors that can be mental. There's also a lot of factors that can be physical, like making sure you have enough warm up time at tournaments that I think people don't address. I myself have been super guilty of this. You don't address these factors, and then you wonder, wow, why don't I perform in tournament? Well, you're not warming up. You're not allocating time to warm up. You're not, acclimating yourself to the time zone. There's all kinds of practical things that could be holding you back. And I think sometimes people hand wave those things, and you shouldn't do that.
Yeah. How do we talked for a little bit, Zane? Do you have how you feel about that? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'd say also it's frustrating, but being okay with playing through the bad days, um, pushing through, and just seeing how you feel. Like, and really, I think this just boils down to improvement in general. But if you feel like you're at that roadblock where you're like, I'm just not playing the way that I want to right now, pick one specific thing that you feel like is faltering in your game plan and be like, all right, well, let me just try to become a master of this right now. And can I at least try to mitigate this problem? And am I going to be able to improve on it through the course of the session, where I feel like I'm not playing that well, but let me at least get this one thing down. So you can. I've done that a lot, where it's like, well, at least I took this away with me. Like this wasn't a waste. And I think that's a valuable way of handling those days.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that? I was going to ask Lovensky how he feels about that, but
Yeah, that answered my question very well.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
I think for like, we gave a lot of little tidbits. You're probably gonna have to pick out what you think from that is like the most applicable to kind of your own situation, but hopefully you're able to do that. Any shout outs on your way out?
Shout outs to Simple Flips. Shout outs to
Simple Flips.
My playing partner Spood and Tandock. And when are we getting the Golden Guardians Dead by Daylight?
Okay.
Oh.
There
Oh,
are
baby.
four of us. I always thought that would be very funny.
I've been told to play that game, but
Yeah, and you were told, and I understand.
No one's
that the
told me
response-
anything.
I understand the response from you every time was no. You're not interested at all.
I mean, I
What
want.
that game is that a cowboy game, or
It
am I
is-
thinking of Red Dead Redemption?
Yeah, you're thinking of Red Dead.
Very different.
It's
Which is the
you're-
one that Old Town Road? I'm gonna take my horse to the Old Town Road. You know that
that's
song?
not.
That's just Old Town
I do-
Road.
That's just the song.
No, that was in one of them. Okay, if it wasn't,
It's
in Dead
not-
by
it's
Daylight,
not
it was
in- not
Red
in
Dead
Dead by
Redemption.
Daylight. It's
Okay,
when
then
you-
it was in Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. The Dead by Daylight is the one where you run
No,
away.
dude, Google it. Okay, you guys are both looking like I'm crazy. Google it. It's in Red Dead
I
Redemption.
believe you. Cowboys would have that song. That makes sense.
Old Town Road video game.
Okay. We'll let Detective Zain get on that one.
Red
And while
Dead
we-
Redemption 2.
there it is.
Okay.
You guys are looking at me like I'm crazy. Come on. What do you mean?
Crazy, dude. I mean,
It was just odd because I've played the DVD game, so I was like, well, yeah, it definitely wasn't there, but so I didn't. It would be strange to me to imagine that being in the game, but it's
yeah,
fine.
you know that moment where you're being hunted down by a monster and then Lil Nas X starts playing. It's very
Like,
like
oh, yeah,
eerie.
my immersion.
I got the horses in the back.
Yes, beautiful. We do love horses here. Anyway, thank you for the shout outs and everything, Lovensky. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks for answering my question.
Welcome.
Later, man.
Oh, good heavens. All
Sorry
right.
about
No, that was great. The people loved it.
I'm sure
All right. So we got our next caller rolling through. What's up? What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
What's up? I'm Bloom, and I'm from Ohio, but calling in from North Carolina.
Hey, shout outs.
North Carolina.
Represent.
Catfish.
Yeah. Tell them. You know about the catfish. Let's go, baby. Anyway, Bloom, what is your question for us today?
It's for Zain mainly just because he's like a top player right now, but just curious from everyone based on the history. But I was wondering,
A top player right now. Dude,
I was wondering, like,
Sorry,
what would you?
sorry.
No, it's all good, Tove.
I was wondering what you'd attribute the recent rise of Captain Falcon to. What with, we have Wizzy, Dunn, S2J, and Gatsu showing up that all look like they could be like pushing top 10, and just like the shift has been crazy because I started watching and first tournament I watched was Big House 4 2014, which is like Axe calling Falcon a joke character, and now like we have S2J saying he's top 3 in the game, self-proclaimed. So I was just wondering like what you think that's due to.
Yeah, I haven't saw Hax's most recent tier lists. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, he's kind of eased up on that joke. He's been putting
Yeah.
Falcon pretty high.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, he was asking it primarily for Zain, so I'd certainly be glad
Yeah, I
to
wanna
get
hear from
forward to
Zain.
Zain here.
I think it's a combination of things where, well, so on one end we have this new top pool of players, where I'd say versus me, the Marth Falcon, I feel like I'm pretty good at it, but they definitely want to play me instead of Mango. I don't think that's an argument. So Johnny's gotten a couple sets on me. Then we have Plup, who's coming back now, and we see him doing super well versus None from when he plays him. And I think that's going to be an interesting matchup to see again, because I think both Mango and Plup are very, very good at that matchup, and it's something that the Falcons need to overcome. I don't know. I think Wizzy might have beaten Plup once in the matchup, but
Maybe.
it was like a CEO or something.
Mm-hmm.
But
None got last SCL, but he was playing kind of off, you know.
was he playing Fox or Sheik? I can't even remember. So there's that. But then there's also gameplay wise, I'd say with the advent of more CC in the meta, we're seeing a lot of Falcons get a lot more mileage just off of scrapping situations. And from there, everyone's tech chases are. Wizzy's been there, but I think both. So none is it's like the spectrum where Wizzy's like full tech chase, then I'd say Johnny's right in the middle, and then none is completely on the other side. But they're both very good at their respective punish games, and they're both getting better at the scraps and utilizing CC. Also, there's been some drastic improvements from each of them individually. Where I'd say Wizzy, I feel like his main weaknesses before as a player were that his neutral was very telegraphed and what he wanted. So I feel like I could throw out a move as Marth and tell you exactly what he was going to do next at the same rhythm every time. Where I down tilt, he stomps, like an immediate knee jerk response. But I feel like he's done a better job of being more ambiguous about his timings and just playing a little more off rhythm. And it's something that I've noticed more recently. I don't know if he's been more cognizant about it but it's something that I feel from playing him. Then with None, I think it's interesting with None because with Unranked coming out, I think it's given him the opportunity to play even crazier, where he just plays against people all day. This was over the summer of 2020, right? Where I was watching him stream just unranked every day. And for most people, they can't play unranked that long. Where it's like, well, but None, he's just trying completely innovative new things all the time, and his brain is not stopping, and you can see it in his play. Like he just got tremendously better by being more creative, and it's so fun to watch. So that's been my favorite development. And then with Johnny, it's kind of a combination of both things, where it's harder to articulate for me, but the way I feel about Johnny is I feel like both he and Mango, I mentioned playing off rhythm. They're the two best at playing off rhythm and at scrapping, and it's something that's strengthened throughout the quarantine. And I think with Johnny in particular, he's been getting a lot more access to matchups that he wouldn't normally get. So when we saw him play versus HBox last tournament, what was it, like Glint? It just looked like a way different Johnny in the matchup. Obviously, HBox not playing the same as we're used to seeing, but HBox is still doing those same pounds that we see, where it's like, I hit you once, you're at 12%. Now let me go to the platform, wave dash in place, drop through pound, right? And Johnny punished every single one of those. And I was like, well, he's just getting more access to this matchup now, and it's just like with online, there's no more excuse of like, oh, I'm bad at this matchup. Like, no, like you can be polished and everything. So does that answer your question? I feel like I tried to tackle a lot of different areas.
Yeah, that was really thorough. Just because one of the follow-up things I was going to add was like, how do you think the different like play styles of Falcon that we see at the top have like influenced that? Good answer. I guess.
I mean, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, or if you.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple other things I can say real quick. I can just say you touched on it a bit. I can just say there aren't a lot of Falcos and Sheiks at the moment that are stopping these Falcons, and those seem to be matchups that often do stop them more. So the not having that is probably pretty cool. And then also just the 20 GX movement. I think like their Falcon players, they used to just be like Mr. Cool guys who just only stomped on tech chases, and then they've super duper lab. They're like one of the hardest labbers now as a character community. And I think if you do that enough over time, like the results start to show. And I think those results are really starting to come together for all the optimizations for these guys. So, I mean, everything Zain said, absolutely true. But I think there are some other trends that are also probably having some influence on this. Maybe not like fully accounting. The second one might be more of an accounting for it, but certainly I think the first factors as well.
Honestly, you just said something that I'll just harp on real quick. PB, I think it kind of makes sense, right? I think it was kind of a long time coming.
Yeah.
Because okay, think about it. Think about what kind of character Falcon is. Like he like opens you up, and then if he gets his punish, you like die.
Yeah.
Now, for a long time, it was like random. It was like, lol, I will guess, and maybe I'll get the kill. And then now all the Falcons are like, wait, we can like actually react now and we can cover options now. And it turns out if you take a character that if they are right, they kill you with the knee at 70. It turns out that if you take that kind of character and you optimize them, they end up becoming really good.
Yep.
Also just stuff like, look at like moves like Shine, like moves like characters like Fox and Falco have kind of these get out of jail free in scrambles and scuffles, like a move like Shine where you don't, you have amazing frame data. You don't need to lab to know that, if someone's directly on top of you, the frame data of Shine is basically going to win you that interaction. With a character like Captain Falcon that, kind of doesn't have fast moves, I think the advent of crouch cancel, which drastically improves scramble, that getting better for all the characters, that is a like tacit buff. That is an implicit buff to Falcon, because that you're taking a character now that you could nair on top of him and shine on top of him forever for free, like Cactuar Dark Rain from 2008, and you're taking that and you're saying, oh wait, now these guys know how to scrap. So I think in some ways it's like kind of surprising, but also in other ways, if you really think about it, it was kind of a long time coming.
Yes.
Thanks, Captain Falcon.
Well said to everyone. Yeah, how do you feel about that, Bloom? That sound good?
Yeah, that was a great answer from everyone. Thanks, guys.
You're very
Thank you.
welcome. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have I believe we're gonna have another guest jumping on. I think we got someone live right now. Hello, what's your name? Where are you calling in from?
I'm Ramble. I'm calling in from PA.
PA.
Cool deal.
Shout out
How's it
Tri-State.
going?
What up,
Hope you're
Ramble?
doing well. What's your question for us today?
Yeah, my question is, with Melee being far more accessible with Slippy now, are there any new players who have caught your guys' eye? And do you think that they'll be able to perform offline as well as they are in Slippy currently?
Ben.
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah. I could do the obligatory Kadoran then to echo that if I want, but he was coming up a little bit before Slippy.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it depends on where exactly you're looking at. Like there's this peach I play with on stream sometimes named Artie, who's a Connecticut player, and I think he's really got some really good potential, optimizing some really cool stuff, has a lot of techie stuff that I don't see anyone doing, and so I think that's someone to watch. But yeah, I feel like a lot of things. I do feel like a lot of these players are going to be able to transfer their stuff to offline. I'm sure there will be some changes, but I also think like Melee's hard. Chances are, if you're figuring out a lot of things and your results are improving online, you're probably still going to improve them offline.
Yeah, I mean, just the way, like with rollback too, it's not the kind of game like you look at Ultimate, people have just like they have online tier lists and offline tier lists. That's such a crazy concept to me. And that's kind of how it is. That's just kind of how it is. It's literally just a different game. Melee is not a different game online. It's fundamentally the same game. Little things are different.
Zain, do you have any players you're curious about, or you think we should be watching for the offline?
Yeah, the person I've been most impressed with, I think a lot of people have been echoing it too, is Jmook.
Jmook.
Yeah, really impressed by him. I think he was popping off a little bit before online, but more people are getting to know his name now. Really impressive sets versus Ginger. Who else has he beaten? Did he beat None? I think he beat None. And
might have, yeah.
He might have, but he's definitely gotten some really good wins. I played him on a session on the stream, and I was very impressed by him. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he's going to do. Obviously, Ben is probably the most notable because before online, like who the hell is Ben? Like, like no, just seeing the name Ben in bracket just cracked me up.
Yeah.
Who's Ben?
Yeah, Zain.
Oh, that is true. That is true. I did used to have a tag, but
Oh, you did? I didn't know that.
yeah, it was Tekken's because I like Tekken and my name starts with D.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that now.
But,
Techies.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Ben. I don't think a lot of people give him enough credit too. Like I've seen some mutterings just like, oh well, it's just online chic or something like that. But no, I think a lot of the stuff that he does is super legit, and he's pretty new. I think he's got plenty of room to grow. Like you can just tell from the fact that he's able to, despite how HBox might be playing these days, the fact that you can like mentally as a competitor, like this guy was number one, right? And then just be like, okay, well, I'm going to face that and win. That's impressive to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think there's a lot of players too that are just we're definitely getting really good before net play, but I think have kind of had opportunities to kind of show their stuff. Like Sunsei really comes to mind. I mean, the first time I ever heard of him, I remember I did no idea who he was, and he won a tournament over Moki and Nunn in Canada. That was a big deal, obviously. So like, yeah, he was definitely already good before like, the online era started, which is kind of how it is, I think, to be fair for most. Like, J-Mook played before COVID. Melee is not the kind of game where you can get that good in like 1 year. I don't think anymore. I just don't think that really happens. It's that's why we still play it for as long as we do. But yeah, a lot of honestly, quite a number of players, and yeah, I think the results when we go back offline, I think are going to look they're going to be very refreshing. I think there's going to be a lot of new faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we're also just going to get to play with like Europe more and other places, Japan again and everything like that. I think that's going to be cool too.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question, Ramble?
Yeah. I definitely do agree. Ben was the whole reason I asked this question because he's sick as
You
fuck.
just want to hear us say Ben.
I want to hear Ben.
All right.
All right. We got some Ben fans.
Any other shout outs you want to do besides
shout out my
Rob
good
Ben?
friend Raven Wings. He's a big Toph fan and
Hey.
Oh fuck yeah.
so yeah.
Appreciate that, Raven Wings. I'm a big Raven Wings fan. Thank you for calling in, Ramble.
No problem. Have a good day, you guys.
You
Have a
too.
good day.
Later.
How do you know he didn't mean Avatar: The Last Airbender, Toph?
My option selected.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Very calm, composed answer there. You evaluated the situation and you.
That's right.
Yeah.
I decided that this is fine.
You didn't hit him with
You
the
didn't.
actually.
Actually.
Yeah. I meant Toph Beifong from Avatar: The Last Airbender. In which case, I would have said, "Oh, I love that character too."
That is a great character.
Yeah.
She's blind. She can control the earth. I'm neither of those things.
Yet still powerful.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Very strong.
Maybe my eyes get worse. I will be able to control the earth. Maybe that's the trade-off I need to
Ooh.
make.
Yeah, that's
It'll
a
be
cool.
harder to play melee. So,
Well, I feel like you could control the earth. There's probably maybe even more interesting interactions you could have with people, but maybe I don't know.
Than melee. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, probably.
Probably.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We have another caller to come on and get us even more uncertain about the things we do and don't know here in a moment. Let's see if we can bring them in. Unless
there are no more callers.
Unless there are no more callers.
Oh, I thought we had one more. Okay.
Yeah, it looked like one more. I got boozled. That's okay.
You can't spell bamboozle without the word bamboo, right? I realized that recently, which is kind of crazy.
That's it.
They don't have the word of nothing. They don't have anything in common meaning wise.
No. What's
Like
the
I think you can get. Oh,
yeah, I don't know.
I guess you can get lost in bamboo. You can boozle someone by disappearing into it.
I think that happens in Japanese folklore.
Okay. Well, I maybe there's a relation there. I don't know. Someone will let us know. Chat in the comments will let us know, I'm sure. The sleuths are on it. But yeah, so I've Toph, you don't mind if I ask Zain a couple of questions or maybe just one here?
Yeah, no,
later
absolutely. I
on?
want to hear more from Zain.
Yeah, I do want to hear more from Zain too. Man, he's just got a beautiful mind. We have to pick it while we have time. Let's
Deserved.
see. Um, I'll give you this question in kind of like in three metrics. You can answer it however you want. And so I'm basically asking you, Zay, do you have any types of goals? And I'm thinking like legacy, like skill, or Marth specific. Are there any types of things you want to achieve in these kind of realms?
Hmm. Yeah. So when I first set out to play Melee, I wanted to be the greatest of all time, right? I feel like that
Sure.
was yeah. I
Small
wouldn't
goal.
I wouldn't say that's changed that much, but the way that I perceive it has changed. And what I mean by that is I don't ever want to when I'm done with a game, I don't want to be talking about I want to be done with it. I don't want to be talking about my legacy. I don't want to have any part of that conversation. I want to be detached from it, and I want the people to talk about what I've done.
Yeah.
So, but for me personally, what I value more is how have I changed as a person through my years of competition, and hopefully it's for the better.
Are you evaluating that along the way? Like at the end of the year, are you saying, "Well, this is how I changed"? Or are there certain goals you want to hit for that, or is it something that is more nebulous and not defined?
I'd say it's more nebulous. I think with something like Melee, I've realized just improving in general. After Melee, I want to do so many different things and take what I've learned from improving at the game and just try to focus on a bunch of different things. Like if I want to take a year to just like get really good at cooking or something,
Yeah.
I want to apply the same things that I learned and just do that. And that's like my dream is like to just get better at improving. Now, yeah, that I guess that has nothing to do with being the goat or anything. So I guess maybe.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily. I think there is value to that. I think what you leave behind as a person is connected to what you leave behind as a player. I think these things and what you put on the screen is connected to what you are as a person. So I do think there is a relationship there. I think it's one that's not immediately apparent to a lot of people, but I think especially the stronger you get at the game and the more you can see the interplay of the two, I think it is more apparent. So so many people talk about so much work you put in, and I think you are someone that seems to understand a lot of the improvement process. Not only that, but bringing out what you practice into the game because everyone talks about how consistent Zain can be. So I would say that in terms of the discussion going on around you right now, you're at least hitting some of what you're going for, and I'm sure there's always room to improve. You were talking. I mean, we were talking about some of the sets you could have played better in before, and so maybe we're not all the way there yet, but I don't know if that's your goal. Is it your goal to play fine in every set? Is that something that you think is part of your improvement process?
So for my sets in particular, I think it is kind of a dangerous sentiment that I've been thinking about recently. Is that I want to be able to just destroy everyone. Like that's my goal. Is to just on a whim 3-0. And my hope is that actually doesn't happen because I want there to be a kind of push-pull thing where if I play Mango, he's gonna meet that, and that's what I want is not to actually get those results, but to try to aim for that and to bring out the best Melee that I can, which sounds really weird.
I didn't think it sounded weird.
Setting a high bar means that you're always striving for something really big, but it's very interesting because it's a bar that it seems almost like you're not sure if you want. So it does seem like there is a bit of a tension with that.
There is, yeah.
I think you can resolve it by saying, you want greatness. You kind of want you both want to be great yourself, and you want to cultivate greatness around you.
Yeah,
and you want to, you want to set a bar, but you also want people to be able to meet it. But you kind of want to be the bar.
Exactly, and it's my belief that like I'll try my hardest to attain that, right? But I don't it's my belief that someone like Mango or other competitors they're gonna push past. It's just the way that Melee works.
Would you think it's hollow to get there and feel like other people weren't kind of putting in the same type of effort you are? Is that kind of why you're hoping other people can keep pushing with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it would feel hollow.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, I mean, I can't even talk about it. That's not where it is right now, right? Like,
Sure.
so it feels weird to talk about it. Like, but I would never want to like pick up another character just because, like, that sounds so lame to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now for Marth in particular, I know you mentioned that.
Yeah.
My immediate goal is to take down Pikachu.
Good goal.
Yeah, because I think that Marth very, very handily beats Pikachu.
Thank you.
And I've been putting a lot of work into it. I haven't got the chance to play Axe recently, but hopefully when Land comes back, we'll have a really good set. I've polished a lot of my edge guarding, just general sharking versus Pikachu. So I'm excited to play him again. And I guess for Marth in particular, I've done a lot of things that I wanted to do in terms of innovating the character, but I've mentioned this before that I want to get better at scrapping with Marth. I think it's something that I've tried to solve with like CCing, like none
It's
does.
hard. It's not something Marth is really built for.
It's very hard. So I'm trying to find. It's not something you see me do in tournament that often, but it's something that I want to push. I'll see if I can do it. But a lot of the times when I'm in a scrap, I'll just be like, let me reset center, and you'll see me like dash center a lot.
Yeah.
So
I think that rounds you out more to work on that too. So yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, so that seems fair to me. I don't know if there was something else you wanted to pick up on that, some thread that Zain pulled out that you were curious about, Toph.
No. I've talked with Zain about some of this stuff before.
Okay, gotcha.
So not all of that came as a surprise to me. But yeah, excited to keep watching watch it unfold.
For sure.
I will say actually I will say this. You know, because it's interesting because for me, like I've played a couple different video games at a relatively competitive level, and like I feel like it is definitely a factor. Like I think that when because there are smaller scenes where you can end up feeling like, wow, I just feel like the effort I'm putting in, no one's really matching, and I'm kind of better than all these guys. And I think that is interesting in its own way. It's interesting to be someone who's pushing a scene or pushing a game and kind of feeling like you're, kind of the pioneer or whatever. Even get this in Melee sometimes with characters, like the way Axe has with Pikachu, kind of thing. And but yeah, I think there's something very rewarding about how you feel like in a game like Melee, the competition is at the point where there are a lot of people who are really invested and really good. And, yeah, I think that is in the general case, I think it's more rewarding. Which is not to say that, not to take anything away from smaller scenes or different types of situations with how top players are represented in games, whatever. But
we were also a smaller scene at one point, after all.
That's right. I mean, yeah, no, yeah. When I was going to my first tournaments in Melee, there were 8-9 person locals, and but I wasn't thinking about winning back then. I was
right.
So, whatever.
Yeah.
Good answers.
Yeah. You mind if I ask you? I got two more. I imagine the last one might be quick, but these both might be quick. I don't know if you mind, Zain. Is that okay? If can you indulge me two more?
Let's do it.
What do you think of? I learned over the weekend Cody's going back to Fox versus Marth, except maybe on FD, and I apparently you were calling out that this was going to happen, and I'm kind of curious what made you so certain of this, and how does it feel to be right?
I mean, I actually feel nothing about it. I don't know. Like,
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
With Cody, I think he's so good at the matchup. Where there'll be Fox Marth. where there'll be a series of he destroys me sometimes, like in a series of friendlies, and it's never he never maintains that in tournament. And I'm not trying to say that to be like I'm just being brutally honest.
Yeah.
Because it's a crumble. Like if there'll be times where he'll start spot dodging more, which you absolutely cannot do versus Marth. Like, the Marth player is just going to be able to scout that out, and it's just completely different from when I feel like he's playing well in friendlies. Now, what was I going to say?
Yeah, we were talking about Cody switching from Sheik. Oh, go ahead, Toph.
I was going to say, is it Cody in particular? So, like, you contrast that with a guy like Leffen, where, with him, I feel like he probably will just stick to the Sheik. Like, is it Cody in particular, that you were able to make this prediction?
Yeah, I think it's with Cody, because we're also both relatively newer to the game, right? So with someone like Leffen, who's played a bunch of other characters through the course of his career, like when he first played Sheik versus me, it was already pretty competitive. Like he can just pick up and play. Whereas with Cody, like it's a very arduous process to be okay with getting destroyed in Sheik Marth. Like I think SEOs are the time to do it, by the way. He was mentioning that he wanted to go Fox versus Marth versus me because he's trying to win these, but it's online right now, and it's kind of this experimental type of tournament style where I think it's actually ideal if that's something you want to do. And the fact that he didn't want to do it at this time was like a key indicator to me that there wasn't as much commitment towards it. And yeah, I just think if he was super serious about it, he would have done it there. And then Fox Marth, like, I mean, I listen. If these days, if you say something, anything positive about Fox in that matchup, you might just get hunted down.
Yeah,
but I do think there is some innovation left in that matchup. I don't think it's hopeless.
Bold words.
But yeah, those are my feelings on that.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think the matchup is. I mean, you've heard Mango talk about the matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Mango. A lot of the times, I'll agree with it. It's just his argument, the way he it just feels like so on a whim. Like,
I don't feel like there's ever too much thought that's put into it, but you got to get this vibe where Mango doesn't feel like it's.
He says what he means. he
does. He finds a way to put a little Mango spin on it, but he does say what he means. And I don't know. I feel like when Mango talks about it, he's like, yeah, I don't know, it's fine. It's like not that bad. Yeah, you get messed up, like pretty bad. Sometimes Marth hits like a truck, but kind of thing. I don't know, but Fox can definitely do some stuff.
Yeah, I always mentioned like CC game versus Marth, and I always harp on this, and Leffen's like, I forget what his response is to it. Like he can't get a proper CC follow up on Marth if he down tilts. But like I feel like if you position yourself close in as Fox and you prioritize that close in positioning and play those scrapping situations more, it's really hard for the Marth to do, because every Fox that I play besides Mango gives me space. They give me so much space, and it's never any like. Leffen was the best at mixing it up, where it would be like kind of this. He'd go in between, sifting between burst options and then fall back, full hop, drift back, reset. With Cody, I feel like I get a lot of space, and every other Fox, and I think Marth thrives on that. Whereas when I play Mango, his punish game is not nearly as refined, and his shark game is not nearly as refined as Cody and Leffen's, but I feel way more smothered. And I think there's some value in that.
And no one's doing both. No one is doing the Mango pressure in neutral and advantage, and no one's sharking and hitting as hard as Leffen.
I mean, I can say this because I played everyone. Like, yeah, it doesn't feel the same. It is not. Yeah. It is not equal.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's doing both.
Fair point. Well, good luck, Fox players. Excited to see you play Zain more.
Yeah, let's play it, Toph.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you.
I'll be the Fox.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Well, it's very interesting. Bringing up Mango, it does segue into my last question here for you. We're pretty much done. You've done this podcast with us. How would you say this compares to the experience of doing the 6-4?
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Both very different vibes. I
Yes.
feel like this has a lot more structure to it. Which is a nice change of pace. No fault to Leffen. Where
Hey, that's
yeah, I like the structure here. Now the 6-4, I'm also part of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like there's more juice on there where we'll talk a little bit more about the drama. So it's a different vibe.
Yeah.
They both got their own unique qualities that I can appreciate on both ends.
Toph, you look like you're about to say something. You change your mind?
Are you trying to bring in more juice?
I was gonna say, hey, at the end of the day, what we talk about here at Radio Melee is ultimately at the hands of what you, the people, ask us. So if you guys ask us
True.
about the juice,
I mean, you can ask us about
all we see in the Discord is questions demanding the juice. All we can do is deliver the juice. If we see questions that don't ask about the juice, we can't deliver the juice. So if you want to see more juice at home, you have an avenue to do so. Now, I also will say this. Sometimes I don't feel comfortable being a full-on juice
conductor. Yeah.
On Mango the 6-4, you guys got to realize, you're top. I feel like even if I'm right, sometimes there are things that as a non-top player, I can't say. Even if because I feel like if Mango harps on Armada, like says something, where he kind of makes fun of Armada or HBox or something, you got to do that. You can kind of do that if you're at that level. I can't make fun of Armada.
Bring it out, dude. Bring it. Let me see it.
No, I have nothing.
So you're coming after Armada now? Is that what you're telling me, Toph?
I mean, listen, I don't got a scoop now.
I don't see any Super Mario 64 speedrunners calling him the GOAT.
Oh dear.
All right, I take back everything I said. we get the juice and the structure.
All right, so Zain and Armada will be on our next podcast.
Oh my god!
Next episode next week. That'll be fun. Yeah, we'll hash this out. We'll be sure to hash this out. Yeah, I will say to try and desperately pull us out of whatever we're in right now. Also, I will also say that in the inception of the show, there was some discussion about what we were going to do to try and keep it interesting, keep it fresh. There was discussion about the juice, as it were, although it was called something different. It was called like Hot Topics or whatever. But I am not someone that's like really down to go after people. That's not who I am.
And I think that's refreshing.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair. I mean, if Toph wants to go after people, I'm not going to.
I'm not going to go after people.
You just went after Armada.
But that.
John Wick style.
I didn't even mean it. I feel like I had to come up with something on the spot.
Yeah, that was great. It was like I'm backing you up, Toph. And no matter if you're as long as you're like not way out of line, I'm gonna back you up. So I'll back you up on your Armada roast.
I think non-out of line juice is fun.
Yeah,
I think out of line juice is you got to draw. Well, that's why they call it drawing the line. That's why they call it the line.
Yeah,
line. Well, you're out of line. You got to stay in the line. If you're in the line, you can have juice. If you go out of line, no more juice.
That's right.
There.
It evaporates.
Juice confrontation. That's what we call it, right? Juice confrontation. I think
smash.
Mine was. I talked to you about with you about this, Toph, but it was the HBox tweet where he was like, when we won Game 5 at 4 Loco, and he was like, after practicing for 2 days, I was able to take Zain Game 5, and I read that tweet and I was like, oh, I hate this. I hate everything about this.
It was so funny, dude. It was funny. It's funny because I read that tweet. I remember when I read it, I didn't think it was that bad. And then after I heard you talk about it, I was like, oh, I see. And then I went back and read it again. I was like, I see. When I first read it, I didn't think anything of it. But I totally see how you would have gotten a certain
like a competitor. Like,
I get it.
Maybe we'll get HBox on next week too with Armada. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, we can talk it out. I'm down to
or beef it out. I guess we're gonna see. It seems like we don't want to leave anyone's needs unmet here. So if there are juice needs, we'll see what we can do. I guess it's hard for me personally, but if people are down, I'll officiate or something. I'll figure out what my role is supposed to be.
Yeah. I feel like wait, who's a pacifist country? Is it Switzerland?
Switzerland, yeah.
Switzerland, yeah.
That's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down to be Switzerland and all the juice wars or whatever it's supposed to be. But yeah. Yeah, the vibes are different. You're okay with the vibes here. It's just a different thing. And you said that there's value to that.
I think it's great. I think there's too much juice out there.
Yeah, that's fair.
Twitter is like juice
Yeah.
incarnate.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
World.
It's a factory. It's a factory, really.
All right.
But yeah. So I think just having, just honest discussions, like structure to it. I think it's very, very refreshing to see. So, yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, just kind of wanted to get your take on the overall thing. Of course, man, the Golden Guardians man wanted to see how he was feeling about what we were coming up with. So I thought I'd throw him the question. But yeah, this was fun. Thank you so much, Zaid, for coming on, and thank you again for being an awesome host with me, Tove.
I had a blast. Thank you guys for having me.
Sure won't be the last time.
Hopefully not. Be glad to have you back. But yeah, congratulations again on your win last weekend, Zain. And I'm looking forward to more of what you do and also doing more filming with you. And anyway, with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Please sub to the YouTube. We are going to be putting out content 3 days a week. So if you like what you see here, click the little button, click the bell, all that good stuff. And we'll see you around. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.
Later, everyone.